Have you ever watched someone utterly unqualified climb the ladder of success while genuinely brilliant minds remain invisible in the shadows? Have you ever wondered why the meeting room is filled with confident voices saying nothing, while the person with actual answers sits quietly in the corner, dismissed and overlooked? There is a disturbing pattern woven into the fabric of every society, every corporation, every institution, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let me take you on a journey through one of the most uncomfortable truths about human civilization. This is not about bitterness or envy. This is about understanding the invisible rules that govern who rises and who falls. Rules that have nothing to do with merit, intelligence, or genuine capability. The ancient Greeks had a word, hubris. It meant excessive pride, the kind of dangerous overconfidence that made men believe they could challenge the gods themselves. But here is what they did not tell you. Hubris, in the modern world, is not punished. It is rewarded. The person who speaks with unearned certainty, who projects confidence without competence, who mistakes volume for value, that person does not fall from grace. That person gets promoted. Consider what psychologists David Dunning and Dunning-Kruger discovered in their groundbreaking research. They found that people with the least ability in a given area are often the most confident about their skills. Meanwhile, those with genuine expertise tend to underestimate themselves, plagued by awareness of how much they still do not know. The incompetent person does not know what they do not know. They walk through life wrapped in a comfortable blanket of ignorance, radiating confidence that others mistake for competence. The intelligent person, cursed with self-awareness, hesitates, qualifies, doubts, and in that hesitation loses the race to someone who never questioned themselves at all. This is not a bug in human psychology. This is the operating system. Our brains evolved to follow confident leaders, not correct ones. In the ancient savannah, when a predator approached, the tribe did not have time for nuanced debate. They needed someone to point and say, "Run this way," with absolute conviction. Whether that direction was actually the safest mattered less than the speed of the decision. We are the descendants of people who followed confident leaders, even when those leaders were wrong. The thoughtful analyzers who said, "Well, let us consider all options," became dinner. This evolutionary inheritance shapes every boardroom, every political election, every social hierarchy today. We are hardwired to confuse confidence with competence, to mistake certainty for knowledge, to follow the loudest voice rather than the wisest one. And the incompetent, unburdened by the weight of knowing what they do not know, project exactly the kind of confidence our primitive brains are programmed to follow. But there is something even more insidious at work. In his landmark book, Lawrence J. Peter introduced what became known as the Peter Principle. In a hierarchy, every employee tends to rise to their level of incompetence. Think about what this means. A brilliant engineer gets promoted to management, not because they would be a good manager, but because they were a good engineer. A talented salesperson becomes a sales director, removed from the very activity that made them valuable. People are promoted based on their performance in their current role, not their potential in the next one. The system itself manufactures incompetence at every level of leadership. But why do the incompetent often rise faster than this principle alone would predict? Why do they leap past their more capable peers? The answer lies in a truth so uncomfortable that most people refuse to acknowledge it. Competent people make others feel inferior. When you truly know your field, when you speak with genuine expertise, you inadvertently remind everyone around you of their own limitations. Your very presence becomes a mirror reflecting their inadequacies. And humans, driven by ego and the desperate need to feel capable, do not reward those who make them feel small. They promote those who make them feel comfortable. The incompetent person poses no such threat. They do not challenge anyone's sense of self-worth. They can be controlled, predicted, managed. The mediocre manager does not fear being outshone by an incompetent subordinate, but a brilliant one, That brilliant subordinate might expose the manager's own limitations, might question their decisions with actual knowledge, might even take their job. Better to promote the harmless fool than the dangerous genius. If this pattern is starting to feel familiar, if you have witnessed this dance of mediocrity in your own life, then you are beginning to understand something profound about how the world actually works. And what comes next might change how you navigate it forever. If this resonates with something you have felt but never quite named, consider subscribing. This journey goes much deeper. Let me tell you about someone I will call Michael. Michael worked at a technology company, a genuine expert in his field. He could solve problems that stumped entire teams, but Michael had a fatal flaw in the currency of corporate advancement. He was honest about uncertainty. When asked about a project timeline, he would say, "It depends on several factors we have not fully assessed." When asked for his opinion in meetings, he would acknowledge multiple perspectives before offering his analysis. Michael spoke like a scientist because he thought like one, carefully, precisely, aware of the limits of his knowledge. Meanwhile, there was David. David understood perhaps 30% of what Michael knew, but David had mastered something far more valuable in the corporate ecosystem, the performance of competence. When asked about timelines, David would give a confident number. When asked for his opinion, David would state it as fact, with the kind of certainty that made everyone in the room nod along. David never said, "I do not know." David never acknowledged complexity. David made everything seem simple, achievable, under control. Within 2 years, David was Michael's manager. This story repeats itself in every company, every government, every organization on earth. It is not a coincidence. It is a pattern. And understanding this pattern is the first step toward either playing by its rules or transcending them entirely. The philosopher Bertrand Russell captured this perfectly when he wrote, "The fundamental cause of the trouble is that in the modern world, the stupid are cocksure while the intelligent are full of doubt." But Russell only described the symptom. The disease runs deeper. Our entire social infrastructure, from education to employment to politics, is designed to reward the appearance of competence rather than its substance. Consider how we hire people. A confident interview performance matters more than actual skills. We judge candidates on their ability to sell themselves, which is an entirely different skill from doing the job they are selling themselves into. The best interviewee is not the best employee. The best interviewee is the best performer. Someone skilled at projecting capability, regardless of whether they possess it. Consider how we elect leaders. Political success requires projecting strength, certainty, and simple answers to complex problems. The candidate who acknowledges nuance, who admits uncertainty, who treats voters as intelligent adults capable of understanding complexity, that candidate loses to the one who offers comforting lies delivered with absolute confidence. Every society gets the leaders its selection mechanisms produce, and our mechanisms are calibrated to select for confidence over competence. But here is where this journey takes a crucial turn. Understanding this pattern is not enough. The question you must now ask yourself is, what do I do with this knowledge? Some people, upon learning these truths, become cynical. They decide that if the game is rigged, they should either refuse to play or learn to rig it themselves. They become performers, projecting false confidence, playing political games, climbing ladders by stepping on others. They become part of the very system they once despised. Others retreat entirely. They decide that if competence is not rewarded, why bother developing it? They become bitter observers, watching from the sidelines as the mediocre inherit the earth, nursing their resentment like a precious wound that proves their superiority. But there is a third path, and this path requires understanding something that Nietzsche hinted at, that the Stoics taught explicitly, that every true master throughout history has discovered. External success and internal mastery are two different games, and you get to choose which one you play. The incompetent person rises faster in the external game precisely because they are playing only that game. They have no internal game, no pursuit of genuine excellence, no drive toward actual mastery, no relationship with truth that demands honesty about their limitations. They are perfectly adapted to a system that rewards appearance over substance because appearance is all they have. But the intelligent person has access to something the incompetent can never touch: the deep satisfaction of genuine competence, the joy of actually solving a hard problem, the quiet pride of knowing your work has substance, even if no one recognizes it, the relationship with truth that cannot be faked, that requires no external validation, that belongs to you alone. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote his meditations not for publication but for himself, a private dialogue about how to live with integrity in a corrupt world. He understood that he could not control who rose or fell in Rome's political intrigues. He could only control his own character, his own pursuit of wisdom, his own relationship with virtue. And in that focus, he found a freedom that no title or position could provide. But there is a secret still more profound that most people miss entirely. The truly wise do not simply accept their external invisibility as the price of internal integrity. They learn to bridge both worlds. They understand that developing genuine competence and learning to communicate that competence effectively are not mutually exclusive. You can master your craft and master its presentation. You can be brilliant and be heard. You can refuse to play political games while still learning the language of influence. The problem is not that intelligent people are bad at self-promotion. The problem is that they believe self-promotion is beneath them. They have been taught that quality speaks for itself, that merit will naturally be recognized, that playing the visibility game is somehow dishonest. These beliefs are not wisdom. They are learned helplessness dressed up as moral superiority. The most powerful position is not the loud incompetent who rises through false confidence, nor is it the silent genius who refuses to be seen. The most powerful position belongs to the person who develops genuine mastery and then learns to make that mastery visible, not through deception, but through strategic communication. This person changes organizations from the inside. This person eventually rises not despite their competence, but because of it, having learned to translate their value into terms others can recognize. This requires a fundamental shift in how intelligent people view the game. Instead of seeing organizational politics as corrupt and beneath you, see it as simply another skill to master, like any other. Instead of resenting the need to make your value visible, embrace it as a communication challenge. Instead of viewing confident people with contempt, study what they do well and learn from it, while rejecting what they do poorly. And here is the revelation that changes everything. The incompetent person's confidence is fragile. It is built on ignorance, and ignorance can be exposed. The competent person's confidence, once developed, is unshakable because it is built on truth. When you genuinely know your field, when you have done the work, when your competence is real, you can learn to project that truth with the same certainty the incompetent project their illusions. But your foundation is stone, while theirs is sand. The incompetent rise faster because they start sooner. They never waited until they were ready, because they never knew they were not ready. But they also fall harder, eventually, when reality catches up with their performance. The competent person who learns to be visible rises slower, but builds something lasting, a reputation grounded in substance, relationships based on genuine value, a career that compounds over time. The world will always have incompetent people in positions of power. This is the price we pay for social systems that cannot measure what truly matters. But within this imperfect world, you have a choice. You can become bitter, become cynical, become a performer yourself, or you can become something rare and valuable, a person of genuine substance who has also learned the art of being seen. As you leave this reflection, carry with you this truth. The game is not fair, but it is navigable. The incompetent have advantages in the short term, but the long arc of reality bends toward those who build on truth. Your intelligence is not a curse that dooms you to invisibility. It is a foundation upon which you can build something the confident fool can never construct. Lasting impact, genuine contribution, real change. Stop hiding your light because you are afraid of being judged. Stop waiting for permission to be visible. Stop believing that wanting recognition somehow diminishes your work. The world needs people of substance to step forward, to speak up, to learn the uncomfortable art of being seen, not to play games of deception, but to ensure that truth has a voice as loud as illusion. If this message reached something inside you, if you recognized yourself in these words, then you know there is more to discover. Like this video, leave a comment sharing your own experience with this pattern. Subscribe to this channel to continue this journey toward understanding and transcendence. And if someone you know has struggled in the shadow of confident incompetence, share this with them. They need to know they are not alone, and more importantly, they need to know there is a path forward. The meek may not inherit the earth, but those who combine depth with voice, substance with visibility, competence with confidence, they build the future worth inheriting.